Hello everybody, hope everybody's doing great today. Appreciate those of you who are watching this video. Hope you enjoy it. And today we're talking about The Way of the Dragon, starring Bruce Lee. And of course he fights Chuck Norris, so you get the great Coliseum fight between the two masters. And this is the pre-beard Chuck Norris, which is a good thing because if Bruce Lee would have fought the bearded Chuck Norris, he wouldn't have a chance in Hades in order to defeat the great Chuck Norris. Anyways, enough about that silly joke. Let's get into The Way of Dragon. This is Bruce Lee's directorial debut. It definitely feels that way at the beginning of the movie. The first few minutes, it looks a little rough. Some shots are slightly out of focus, and the framing feels uncertain. But as the movie goes on, Bruce Lee's direction, I guess you can say, improves greatly until you get to the final end where he's fighting Chuck Norris. One thing it's hard to say about that is because, usually, I don't know, usually when they do these movies, they shoot the scenes out of sequence. So I don't know if Bruce Lee shot this movie in order or if he used, out of sequence. Far as I know, I couldn't find anything, but as far as I know, the fight with Chuck Norris could have been the first scene he shot. I don't know, but just when you're watching the movie, the first scenes look kind of rough. Everything's kind of out of focus, but as the movie progresses, it definitely gets better. The cinematography becomes more deliberate. The shot choices improve, and by the time we watch the final fight at the Coliseum, the film looks confident and fully realized throughout. The music is interesting to me. I kind of liked it. Early on, it almost feels comedic. Kind of like something out of the Pink Panther. I kind of get that Pink Panther vibe coming out of it. But before the showdown of Chuck Norris, the score shifts into something that feels like a spaghetti western with the Chinese or with the Oriental flavor to it. As the two warriors come together, Chuck Norris versus Bruce Lee. You got two different philosophies. You got Bruce Lee fighting for his family. Chuck Norris basically fighting for money as he's paid by the goons here who's trying to destroy Bruce Lee's family's restaurant business. Kind of like the mafia type of deal. But you got that music going on. It really heightens that final fight. The character dynamics, and you also have like a quiet comedy in this one. Like one of the first scenes of the movie is Bruce Lee standing in the terminal, and you just have a woman 2 feet from him, maybe a foot, just staring at him. And then you got the uncomfortable Bruce Lee trying to look everywhere throughout the terminal, but at the lady, And Bruce Lee's character in this one, he's kind of quiet, shy type. And he's kind of like an introvert, very much an introvert, very shy around the ladies, as there's a scene where a girl takes him home. I don't think he realizes what she's taking him home for. She undresses in front of him, and he's out the door, just like Joseph in the Old Testament. He runs away from her and never sees her again. So you get those good old comedies things, very slight comedy. And the fighting scenes, you get some comedy in the fighting scenes. Definitely like Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan has some great comedic fight scenes. But this one does have that subtle comedy with Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is mostly very fierce when he's fighting. It's all about his muscles, definitions, and, stoic poses. So the comedy in this was more like the people he's fighting and their reactions as he's kicking their rear ends. And it's kind of like, he's superior, and just how he's kind of playing around with them. That's kind of like the comedy and the fights in The Way of the Dragon. And it works, the villain's henchman. But the funniest character is the villain's henchman. He's kind of very eccentric and charismatic. He's probably the funniest supporting character in the film. The movie also surprised another side character. Kind of surprised me was the uncle who hired Lee to come. In the end, he's stabbing his own men in the back, literally with a knife, and he's about to stab Bruce Lee in the back. Spoiler alert, but he gets shot. You know, he gets eliminated before he's able to stab Bruce Lee in the back. But that was kind of like the surprise of the film. I feel, you know, this film is about what, almost 48 years old, almost 50 years old. So I figured it's probably over 50, right? Anyways, 55 years old. I'm trying to do my math in my head real quick on the top of while I'm doing this video. Anyways, it's over half a century old. 52 years old. Anyways, so I don't mind giving that spoiler, but it was a big one for me. I never seen the movie before until this time, and seeing that, I was like, oh my gosh, this dude is a traitor. I mean, hardcore. He's the one who, you know, hired him and trying to defend his thing, and now all of a sudden he's stabbing people in the back, his own people. The final fight. The choreography between Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris is fast, precise, and expressive. The fight plays out almost in 2 movements. In the first half, Chuck Norris dominates the fight. I don't think Bruce Lee gets any hits in at the beginning. And then I think after he rips out the chest hair of Chuck Norris, the fight turns around. And then Chuck Norris gets no offense, and Bruce Lee kind of squashes him. And then he respectfully puts his karate gear robe back on Chuck Norris. Kind of a little respect there. But overall, it's very well done. Obviously, why it's iconic. And Bruce Lee shoots it really well. You have the Coliseum, the interior of the Coliseum in the background as they're fighting. He goes to the cat a lot. There's like a little kitty there, a little kitty cat, cute cat, you know, watching this unfold. But, you know, it's very well done. And all the fighting choreography is well done in this movie. This movie does feel like a Western martial art films at times. You can see elements that later showed up in things like Kung Fu, The Lone Wanderer, A Foreign Land, Quiet Strength, Moral Conflict. It's not a love story. Bruce Lee finishes his mission, restores dignity to the restaurant, and leaves Rome behind. Purpose first, emotion second. Another thing about that is about the women in here. Like I said, we have the one who's from Italy, takes him to her room, undresses in front of him, you know, what's the seducing, he runs away from her. Then you have the Chinese girl, his cousin, who wants nothing to do with him because she thinks he's quiet, he's dumb, he's stupid, he's backwards because he's from China, kind of royal type of thing. But once he kicks everybody's booties in the movie, she then gets more respect for him, and everybody does. At first, they're making fun of him because he doesn't know how to speak English. I don't know why it would be a big thing if you're in Italy, but he doesn't know how to speak a different language. Let's just leave it at that. But after he shows his fighting skills, then they respect him a lot more, showing, you know, people respect competence. And if you don't show them the skills that you have, or if you don't have any skills, people will look down upon you. Overall, I really did enjoy The Way of the Dragon. I think for his debut as a director, it was very well done. Unfortunately, you know, he would only make one other movie in full after this one, and that's Enter the Dragon, so we didn't really get to see him progress as a director. But for his first time, great job. Definitely a movie worth watching. If you've never seen a Bruce Lee movie, be a good one to watch to start out with. And if you're a Bruce Lee fan, of course, you've probably already seen it and you know how great it is. Leave me some comments below. What do you guys think of The Way of the Dragon and the fight between him and Chuck Norris? Does Chuck Norris wins if he has the beard? Let me know what you guys think. Also of the direction that Bruce Lee took in directing this one. And anything else you have come in your mind. Have a great day and bye.